The world wasn't prepared for the Klaus Schwab interview in 2020 when he said that we should be prepared for an angrier world ahead of us. Whenever the farmers come together to protest and hate on our environment, are they just attention seekers who see nothing beyond themselves? Or are they imitating us to stay prepared for the worst, being actually worried about the home provided to us? When the news headlines portray the United States as a loser who is responsible for the economic shrinking that the world is facing right now, where people are at their extreme both mentally and physically, and the nations are plotting against each other, inching closer to a world war, the matter is taken a lot less seriously than what it should be. Here are 5 facts that prove that the human race is approaching the Great Reset. The environmental and economic shift in such a rush is obviously a foreign subject of concern for most people. But the sad part is, the only ones who will get affected by this deterioration of balance in nature are us. The globe has come together as one unit to point fingers at the world leaders who have failed to do their best to perform the only job they were provided with. On one hand, people have started to lose hope that these world leaders are even capable of solving their own problems created themselves. And on the other, hope is still inevitable. This hope will only come at the cost of traumatized world and its dramatic downfall. At this point, we are on the brink of suffering and mental destruction ever recorded, be it with pathetic events such as 9/11, the emergency declared in 2008 due to unemployment and economic downfall, or the global COVID-19 pandemic. The world went on a toll once in the past, from which it hasn't recovered yet. Experts believe that this recovery phase of our globe will only come after this building with a weaker base has collapsed. The new building with a new and strong foundation will be enjoyed by our future generation, only if they take care of it. But this great reset is in a sudden change. For about 70 years, the world was already warned about seeing the worst, but everybody failed to lend an ear. These tiny details have been passed over several years, and their prophecies have remained unfulfilled, and it has smelled the end, as per expectations. Ever since the book written by Klaus Schwab, The Great Reset, has been released, we can't help but think about the points raised in it. Well, in a nutshell, The Great Reset expresses its concerns about the changing lifestyle of people on a day-to-day basis to compensate for the wounded earth. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic broke out just because the corporate lacked preventive measures. As a result, the world has already faced several lockdowns to such an extent that now it has been normalized. Similarly, to prevent to check climate change, now people are advised to quit red meat and follow the path of veganism. Moreover, the imbalance of nature would shortly force us to shove insects down our throats in the name of meat to prevent overpopulation. This new way of living following post-crash properties is definitely going to be a lot more difficult than it seems. While being interviewed on this, Klaus seemed to lack a decent solution or remedy for the problems mentioned by no one but him. For the same, he held the stakeholders accountable. This definitely makes us think, who exactly are the stakeholders? The governmental heads or the corporate officers? If it were to be discussed, then the stakeholders is very extended term. Moreover, if someone proceeds to hold us, individuals, as the ones accountable for the deterioration of our abode, then they wouldn't be wrong even a bit. The recent economic upsurge is arising due to bad politics involved in Sri Lanka and parts of the Netherlands, which is nothing but a sheer example of how the Great Reset is being initiated by the government. The United States of America is the biggest power in the United Nations organizations and holds more responsibility than what it believes. The entire economic status of the world is partly or quarterly dependent on the economic and employment state in the United States. And this fact is proven. This is the reason why, now that America is on the brink of destruction, lacking causes and effects, the world is getting depuzzled in itself. Several farmers were seen infuriated, running their tractors on the road. Initially, they might come up to you as destructive human beings, but when you acknowledge the fact that these people have been snatched from their lives' only source of income and their houses are being destroyed, you'll understand the matter of urgency. Well, we believe these upsurges taking place in the different parts of the world are seldomly coincidental. The funniest part about the whole situation is that the American government called out the Sri Lankan government to check out on their economy crisis and listen to the demands of the agriculturists. The netizens believe that this is a part of the same plan as well, where at first the farmers or agriculturists are angered, then their livelihoods are taken away, following which the media covers the entire topic, and the particular government of the country is portrayed as the evil one, and at the end, American government comes as a rescue. Remember how we were told how the image of the American parliament reflects the whole world? This is when everything adds up together. As rightly said, we all know how legitimate these protests by the farmers in Sri Lanka are. Does this also reflect how illegitimate their government officials are? While looking deeper into the matters, although the protests are not the right way of handling situations, don't all protesters have the same fields of interest? The farmers in Sri Lanka or the agriculturists in the Netherlands just want one thing from the government: to intervene. Just when the government would realize this fact, they would immediately like to cut off their supplies and shut them out in the worst way possible. The Great Reset is a serious issue, as the human race is not programmed to function under a set of instructions. If they are influenced into a certain kind of lifestyle to protect the climate or to check for the economic crisis instead of being enforced under a set of laws, then probably the world would become a better place to live in. Similarly, the angry farmers of Sri Lanka have seen the worst. Ever since the economic crisis has begun, the upper class and the middle class are personally being assisted by the government. Meanwhile, the farmers are the ones whom their rights are being snatched away. For the first time, the farmers and the civilians have come together to protest against the highest body of law and order, which clearly reflects the importance of the concern raised. This is the biggest example of how the Great Reset has already begun, and we are unaware of it because it hasn't hit us yet.